Good morning, third grade. It is Tuesday, March 31st, and today we are going to continue our science discussion on insects. We were talking about vertebrates while we were still in school, and we've been talking about invertebrates since we have been at home. I hope you guys are doing well, and this is just a quick review. Remember, vertebrates are all animals that have a backbone. There are 5 classes of animals that are vertebrates. We have mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. Invertebrates are any animal that does not have a backbone, so that could be something squishy like a worm, could be something creepy crawly like an arachnid, like a spider, or it could be an insect, a bug. We have been talking about insects mainly in this section, and we're going to continue to do so. Today we're going to get more into the anatomy of an insect. The word anatomy means how the body is shaped or configured. Humans' anatomy looks very similar. We have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, but insects have a different kind of anatomy from us, but they have the same one or a similar one to each other. So we're going to talk about each one in particular. So let's get started. We did this a little bit last week we were together, but I'm just going to review it a little bit. The anatomy of an insect. All insects have 3 body segments or regions: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. You can see them there. There's the head of the bee, the thorax is the middle part, and the abdomen is the rear part, and it's where all of the insect's organs are. All of the things that we have in our chest, they have in their abdomen. They do not have a nose like we do. They do have a mouth, but they don't smell things. They don't perceive the world the way that we do. So they use their antenna, those 2 little protrusions or things sticking out of their head, to sense their surroundings. The way they smell their surroundings, the way they detect things that they need to eat. So if you've ever been in the house and your mom or dad is cooking something delicious and you smell it and you start walking towards the kitchen, they use their antenna to discover where things that they want to eat are. Things that where other insects like themselves are. So bees and ants, who live in big groups called colonies, use their antenna to communicate with one another. And they have compound eyes. We're going to talk about compound eyes right now. So the head is the location where the antenna and the compound eyes are located. Now, compound eyes are not like ours. We have 2 eyes, and each eye is what's called a simple eye, meaning you see one thing, one direction. A compound eye are hundreds or even thousands of eyes that all work together so that an insect can see in many directions at once. Here is kind of a gross picture. Now, you see in that fly, each one of those tiny little circles is an eye lens. So as a fly is flying through the air or lands on something, those eye lenses are seeing in hundreds of directions all at once. So if you've ever tried to slap an insect or a fly with your hand, you know you can never do that because they see your hand coming a mile away because they can see in every direction at once. And that's very helpful for them because lots of other things eat insects, and especially flies. So if something is chasing you to eat you, you want to be able to see what's behind you all the time. Insects do have mouths, and that is located on their head, as you can see, just below those big old goofy eyes. They have their mouth, and that's where they eat. Alright, so that is the head. Next, we have the thorax. The thorax is that middle section, and it's where the legs and the wings attach. All insects have 6 legs, and all of those 6 legs attach to that middle segment, the thorax. Even the rear legs, it looks kind of like they're sticking out the back, but they connect into the thorax. Also, all insects, like we talked about, have wings. Now, not every insect has a wing, but every species of insect has wings, and they attach at the thorax. Then finally, at the back, we have the abdomen, and that is the rear area that contains the heart and the stomach. Uh-oh, I misspelled heart. The heart and the stomach. Insects have all of their major organs they breathe through in the back. Their heart that pumps their blood, their stomach that digests the food, all of that is in the abdomen, including spiracles, which are tiny little holes that the air travels through. They don't breathe through their mouth like we do. They breathe through the spiracles in their abdomen. That will be on your test, so try to remember it. Spiracles. Next slide. Now this is kind of gross. Insects are important pollinators. We talked about this a little bit in the plant section. Plants cannot move, so if they want to spread their pollen and make more seeds, they need somebody else to do it. Insects and birds are the prime pollinators, or animals that carry pollen from one plant to another plant. Now, one of the things that is unique about insects is, like we talked about, they have an exoskeleton. That means that their skeleton is on the outside of their skin. Ours is on the inside. Now, this creates a problem because as you grow older, as you go from a kindergartner to a 3rd grader to a 6th grader to an 8th grader to an adult, your skeleton inside you grows, but your skin can just stretch over it. But what if your skeleton was on the outside? Well, their skeletons, as they grow, they need to grow new skeletons constantly because they get too big for their old skeleton. So what they do is, their old exoskeleton, they crack and break off, and then they grow a new skeleton. So imagine every time you got bigger, you had to break off your old skeleton and grow a new one. We call that process molting. You can see that insect right there in that picture is called a cicada. And the cicada has molted from its old exoskeleton. And the old exoskeleton is just a shell that they drop and they grow a new one. And that process is called molting. Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is the process of transformation that insects go through during their life cycle. Insects do not metamorphose, or humans do not metamorphose. We are born teeny tiny cute little babies and then grow into cute young children and then grow into slightly less cute teenagers until we're adults, but we don't change shape. When you are born, you have 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes and fingers and toes. But insects change or transform their body anatomy as they grow older, and we call that process metamorphosis. So they hatch from eggs, and then they turn into worm-like creatures called larvae, and then they spin a cocoon or a chrysalis, we call that a pupa, and then they hatch, then they're full-grown adults, and we call that metamorphosis. There are 2 types of metamorphosis: complete metamorphosis and incomplete metamorphosis. Let's talk about complete first. Bam. You can see, you can't really read, complete metamorphosis is on the left, and there are 4 stages. Egg, larva, pupa, and adult. Incomplete metamorphosis has 3 stages: egg, nymph, and adult. And that's why they call it incomplete, because it's not as much as the other one. Alright, complete metamorphosis. There is a picture of it. Now, the picture on the bottom of your screen does not have the egg. All insects hatch from eggs. We've learned this in the past, so they don't have the egg stage. They start with the larva. So eggs, you could probably imagine what they look like, small circles that little baby insects are hatched from, and then their first stage in metamorphosis is a larva. So a butterfly starts out as a caterpillar, like the hungry caterpillar from the book. You can see the caterpillar crawling on the branch. Flies, their larval stage is maggots. If you've ever had the misfortune to look in the trash can and see gross little white things crawling around, well, those are fly larvae. But insects that have complete metamorphosis have their larva stage. Then they turn into the pupa, where they transform. The pupa is that little green thing hanging from the branch. The pupa can be a chrysalis, which is a hard structure, or it can be a cocoon. Certain types of worms weave a cocoon that almost looks like a spider web. So chrysalis means when it's hard, and cocoon means when it's soft. And then when the insect emerges from their pupa state, they are a full-grown adult, whether that's a butterfly or a fly or a bee or whatever it may be. That last stage, the fourth stage, is when they're actually the shape they're going to be. Incomplete metamorphosis. Very similar, but instead of 4 stages, there's 3 stages. The egg, the nymph, and the adult. So certain insects like grasshoppers do not have a larva stage. They hatch from eggs. All insects hatch from eggs. And a nymph is like a mini version of themselves. You can see the nymph grasshopper looks kind of like an adult grasshopper, but it is not as big and it hasn't developed all of the different body parts just yet. So complete metamorphosis and incomplete metamorphosis. We're going to have a worksheet probably before the test where you label each one. Anyways, that's the end of our slideshow today. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to send out for any parents that might be listening, I'm going to send out a list of every student's missing assignments. If they aren't missing assignments, you'll get a list that says, you're all good. I only assigned less work than I normally do this week. There's no spelling sentences because I noticed a lot of parents are fully up to date, but some are falling a little bit behind, and we're all kind of adapting to this new situation, and I don't want to make my class more of a hardship for people. If you want your student to continue doing spelling sentences, and because you think it helps and it's good for them, and if you want to turn them in, that's totally cool. I could even offer a little bit of extra credit, but once again, I do not want to kill everybody off. We're all dealing with this serious thing that's going on, but we'll make it through, and I'm praying for you guys, and I'm can't wait to see everybody back at Redeemer. Okay, have a blessed day. Bye-bye.